You and Your Forces by Elizabeth Towne. The purpose of this book is to discuss that we have within us everything we need to create what we want through the process of understanding and appreciating our desires. Desire. Man has grown by gratifying his desires, never by repressing them. Desire is the voice of God. Desire denied is perverted and brings bitter experience. Desire gratified brings healthy experience. All experiences teach. We grow up in life with desires. We have the desire to create, desire to express, desire to be someone, to experience in reality what we want. And the question is, do we express our desires? And as we express our desires, do we do so in a way that is harmonious? Harmonious for ourselves, to the lives of others, to divine and evolution? Or do we do it in a way that is perverted? By perverted, it means distorted, from a place of shame, guilt, anger. The idea is that everything about life is fueled by desire. You have a desire to wake up each morning. You have a desire to become better and create a better life for yourself. You have a desire to play. You have a desire to express. And these desires have been there since you were born. In earlier stages of life, we go through different experiences, which we call education. Teachers, parents, people teach us about different things of how to navigate this existence. A lot of what they teach us is based on their experience. And if any of their experiences do not come from a place of expressing desire, then perhaps we learn how to repress our desire, misunderstand our desire, and usually in earlier stages. A child desires to express themselves. And an adult says, don't do that. That's not the right thing to do. The child, with limited understanding of how reality works, assumes that it is wrong to express the desire, has not understood at a deep level that it's not so much the desire that the adult is saying don't express, but some kind of behavior that manifests from the desire that might not be beneficial for the child. Now, this continues and expresses as a result of what has been impressed in the subconscious mind. What has been impressed? The misunderstanding of the desire. And so what happens as a child goes through life is potentially the expression of that desire is represented from the subconscious mind in a way that is not harmonious. And what is expressed causes the child, who later moves into different stages in their life, when they become adults, as shame. There's an expression of the desire, but it is received by the individual as shame, guilt. And when we look at how it's expressed, and we go back to how it was impressed, which is the expression of desire and the experience of shame as a result of expressing the desire and confusion surrounding the desire, this leads to adults moving into a place where they shut down the desires. Now, if you're on the journey of entrepreneurship or creative expression, you'll realize that desire is what allows you to be who you want to be. And your desires, when expressed fully in the state of harmony, benefit for yourself, benefit for others, benefit for evolution or design, or divine, I should say, is rewarding. You receive. That's because the way this world works is what you put out comes back to you. Your desires are from the superconscious mind. We are born with desires. We are wired with desires. We also have experiences in life that stimulate desires within us. All that we experience in our reality is interpretation of our desires. We express our desires regardless. All day, all night, we are expressing. We're communicating. I have a desire to express to you about desires today. This desire has come as a net result of reflecting upon my own desires in life, experiences that I had in my life that have been a net result of understanding my desires or not understanding my desires and observing the effects, observing the results, and reflecting back to the cause within that comes from the desire. And after understanding desires to a higher degree and allowing myself to express my desires, I feel that I'm in a position now where I have the desire to express how to embrace desires. And the realization that when the teacher is ready, the student appears. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It's a cybernetic loop. And when I was ready, I attracted this book. This book was revealed. Now, this book was written in 1905. That means that this information has been around before I was born, many years. And it's probably been around before any of you have been born, which reveals another interesting truth about reality. Everything has always existed, already exists now, and our awareness reveals it. And our awareness reveals what we need to know about ourselves. And when we go on the journey of understanding ourselves and wondering why we are the way we are, why we do what we do, what is the purpose and meaning for this existence, we uncover the information. So there was a desire that I had in the beginning to live, to create, to express, which a lot of times I was repressing, suppressing. And as I started to express it, I started to understand that there's something powerful behind this concept called desire. As mentioned, the most influential book in my life has been Think and Grow Rich. I read it in 2004. And this is where I came across this concept called the burning desire. And he says that if you have a burning desire, you'll be able to create what you desire. But you got to have a burning desire. You've got to be so submerged and immersed in the process of creating what you desire that it materializes in the external world. In other words, you achieve your definite chief aim. Through the process of doing this, my original definite chief aim, developing a burning desire to create the end result, which was bringing forth my definite chief aim, I begin to express my desires and understand myself. And through the repetition of doing it again and again and again, I realize, upon taking inventory of myself, that many of my desires were being repressed and expressed themselves in inharmonious ways. And through the journey of self-realization and self-reflection, I went to the origins of this desire and realized that they were pure. She says here, desire is the voice of God. And I can say from this experience of cleansing and purifying myself on the distorted meanings that I had associated with my desire, I realize and know with absolute fact, based on my connection within to infinite intelligence, that desire is the voice of God. She says desire denied is perverted and brings bitter experience. So it's not the desire, it's the desire denied. How do we deny the desires? We deny the desires through misunderstanding, through not realizing that within ourselves that we are fundamentally good. Earl Nightingale talks about this in The Stranger's Secret. People are basically good. And the way they express themselves has nothing to do with the core of who they are, but everything that they have learned and has been impressed in their subconscious mind. We learn about fears. We've been learning about fears for generations and generations and generations, to the point where it has been impressed and wired into our neurology. So if we're going to make a shift and go into a place of understanding our desires and allowing them to express in a healthy way, then we have to rewrite this programming within, which is why the best way to do it is to work on our subconscious patterning. By associating new meaning, by changing the programming around in our subconscious mind, we begin to behave differently. We begin to navigate reality different. This behavioral change navigating reality different as a result of the subconscious programming that we choose to instill, which is inspiring, uplifting, and empowering, rewires our physiology, our neurology. We begin to behave different and operate and navigate reality different, one that is more aligned to our core, one where desire is the voice of God. And as a result, physically, mentally, emotionally, we change. Now, I'll speak from experience on this, that the creation of my very first success using Think and Grow Rich, and I've created success prior to that, but this was systematic. Identifying a definite chief aim, developing the burning desire which was already within me and allowed to be expressed to the level of burning desire, I was able to break through the patterns that were instilled within me. Now, I'm not blaming anyone for my past, because the truth is this: our teachers always did the best they could in their past. They only knew what they knew. We've got a level of consciousness and awareness right now where we understand to such a high degree of how this information works. Why do you think that there's so much more of a popularity to the works of Neville Goddard today than any other time in history? This information has been around for many decades, but yet right now it is received and is valued to a degree higher than ever before, because that information was presented at such a high level of consciousness of that individual that there wasn't many that were at that level of consciousness to be able to receive and understand that information. That is the exact reason why I attracted and found this book recently to talk about desires. When the student is ready, the teacher appears, and when the teacher is ready, the student appears. Cybernetic loop. The information already exists, and we move into a state that reveals it. The state is the net result of the inner world and the realization that we have programming within us in our subconscious mind that, when released and harmonized with a higher purpose of what we truly want to bring forth, who we truly are, then we live a more harmonious life. Desire creates purpose. In other words, if you want to create something in your life that is different than what you have right now, you have a desire to create it. This makes your life purposeful. All happiness is found within. And happiness is found within through purpose, through service. We were born to create. Why do we create? Because we were created in the image of the Creator, so we are wired to create. And where does the desire come from? The desire is received in our subconscious mind from the superconscious mind. So this will keep us going and going and going and evolving if we understand that desire is the voice of God. Now, this is what it means. So we have to make a commitment then to realize that our desires are good at the core, and if we express them in an inharmonious way, then this programming came from our past and we can change it. And you will understand that there's many desires that you have that you once shamed yourself about, that when expressed harmoniously, it will benefit you, it will benefit others, and it will benefit divine or evolution, and it is part of your purpose. And by expressing, you are in service. And it's not just the service you provide as a result of the expression of your desire, but the inspiration for others to be able to do the same when you graduate to a place where you understand this philosophy. It says here, repression but makes desire the greater, and sooner or later it will break the bonds imposed by reason and have its will. Think about this for a moment. Any desire that you had found a way to express itself. It might not be the harmonious way, it might not be the way that you ideally would like it to be, but it expressed itself. Because desire is one of the most powerful forces that we have. We are born with desire to live, desire to express. And it could be expressed in physical problems in the body. It could be expressed as emotional turmoil and stress and frustration. It could be expressed in lack of mental clarity, but it will express, and now we understand why we have these distortions. When the mind is allowed to dream, soar, and receive the desires that are sent from the superconscious, infinite intelligence, emotionally we decide what we want. We know what we want. The question is, Do we allow ourselves to move in that direction, to express through the body, which is taking action? Or do we hold ourselves back? And if we hold ourselves back, why do we hold ourselves back? Well, fear is what we learned, and fear is what causes us to hold ourselves back. But as I learned in Think and Grow Rich, that there are symptoms that reveal when fear is going to show up, such as doubt and indecision. The moment we have a desire to express, we have to realize that we might not understand that desire fully, and there might not exist in the external world knowledge that we can access to help us understand that desire, because I believe that all individuals are so unique that even their desires are unique. And it can only be understood by expression. But many of us fail to express because we're afraid of criticism, or we're afraid of failure. And as a result, we never express the desires in a way that is received by our hunches and our intuitions to express, so we can understand as a result of that action. One of my favorite sayings is, actions create clarity. You have a desire, you express it, and you see what happens, and then from there, you get a higher degree of clarity. That clarity might not be received until the action is performed. What's left then is confusion, because you think it's going to show up a certain way, and that is a net result of encouraging indecision and doubt. And when this keeps continuing, fear shows up. And then fear expresses itself in the external world as circumstance to reveal fear within, and we conclude that the reason why we didn't take action was because of that fear. Instead of realizing that the fear, when meditated upon unconsciously, materialized in the external world to reveal fear. Wasn't to deny the desire, it was to reveal fear. This has been the process by which most of the growth of the ages has been, and all the terrible experiences of humanity come from the bursting forth of desire after periods of repression, days or years or generations of repression, as the case may be. Comedies have multiplied until the world is filled with bondage and force and fear, explosions and death. Upon reflecting upon this concept of desire, when I take an inventory of issues that go on with others, in interactions with others, interactions with themselves, and how they navigate reality, I realize that a lot of this has to do with the misunderstanding of their desires. And what they do is they repress the desires, keep repressing it, and then it explodes as anger and physical violence, emotional games and manipulation with the external world. And what they're not realizing is that this is an inharmonious expression of the desire, and it doesn't have to be that way. Desire gratified brings new experience, affording new material for reason to consider. To deny desire is to shut off from reason its only means of orderly development. Desire will not be denied, it is omnipotent. Through all these ages, when man has tried to deny desire, it has tempted him and made him fall in spite of himself, and every fall has been upward. Now this is interesting. Circumstance, as James Allen said in As a Man Thinketh, reveals to us about ourselves. A repressed desire that is expressed in an inharmonious way reveals to us about the inharmoniousness within. A desire expressed harmoniously is what Jesus meant by the kingdom of heaven is within. A desire that comes from the superconscious, understood and expressed, will express harmoniously. A desire that comes from the superconscious that is misunderstood but denied to express will express in a way to reveal about self. But when expressed and not denied in some shape or form, will reveal as to the understanding of the origins of the desire and what that desire means to the individual. And from there, they can build upon it to create a life of purpose, to the point where harmoniousness is achieved through understanding the desire and allowing the desire to express in the unique way that the individual was designed to express, to create service, to create value, to create benefit for themselves, others, and evolution. Conscious mind is reasoning will. Subconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will. Now, in a recent video, I talked about, the last video I did actually, about how thoughts are things. The spirit mind and the body mind. The body mind representing creating reality from our past. In other words, you experience reality, and then you say that's how it is, and the subconscious mind recreates it over and over again. The spirit mind does not know the past, sees the future, creates from the vision. And the question is, which do we associate with more? The subconscious mind, the instinctive desire, a lot of times recreates based on past reasoning. We assume that the desire expressed is bad based on what is created, and then we live like that over and over again. And as stated, desire will express. It cannot be held down, so it'll continue to express inharmonious until we change that subconscious mind programming within, and then it'll start expressing, I should say, harmoniously. Now, when we start to live in the spirit mind, we say, what in our reality are we creating from our past that is inharmonious, that is a net result of distorted meaning regarding our desires? As each new experience is added to his stock of knowledge, man has rearranged his concept of God. His God is the product of his reason and is small or great accordance to the premise he has to reason from. One way of looking at reality is to look at the external world and say, this is fact. And as we go through life, one of the biases we have is to assume what has been created as fact, even if it is inharmonious, and accept it. Only to realize that the inharmoniousness continues to multiply as the subconscious mind is impressed by that inharmoniousness and continuously expresses to reveal to us about ourselves. Another way of going about looking at reality and saying, what is expressed is fact because it was created from within, and I could change within and see what happens as a result. And I'll speak from experience. My reality looks considerably different, radically different compared to how it looked a year ago, 5 years ago, and 10 years ago, by realizing that I can live from the vision. In other words, I can have my vision be the primary impression on my subconscious, realize as what is being expressed by my subconscious in the external world is revealing to me alignment with my vision or not, or recreation of my past, and I can change that within. Now, coupling this with the idea of desire, I realize the harmonious connection between the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. Where do the desires come from? Well, one can assume that the desires come from the external world. You see something and then you desire to have it. Perhaps what is being expressed in the external world is a way of experiencing that desire, which may or may not be harmonious, and we won't know unless we experience that desire. But if we continue to harbor and impress the subconscious mind with inharmonious views and understandings of what our desire really means, then we'll automatically choose the expression in the external world that represents our meaning of that desire, and we'll experience the inharmoniousness. If we start to say that the desire comes from the superconscious and it is our gift and it gives meaning to our life, then we say it has to be good. And if what is being expressed as a result of the desire is inharmonious, then that is not the total meaning, and we can change that. What within us is causing us to be attracted to the inharmonious expression of the desire? What we'll realize then is this programming was assumed to be fact, and we can change it within. The thing that holds us back from doing this, now I'm not professing that this work is going to be easy. It could be easy, it might not be easy. I've been working on this stuff since I first discovered the concept of the subconscious mind in 2004, and I continuously find inharmonious expressions of desire based on past meaning, and I change it, and I observe as I change the meaning within, I automatically allow myself and choose to allow myself to express, and the fruits, the results of the expression is harmonious. But one of the things that I realized that prevents this is the concept of resistance. A good book to read is Letting Go by David Hawkins. Most of success in this area of evolving ourselves, self-realization, comes from the concept of letting go. Desire is simple. The complexities that we have accumulated and associated in our identity, in our subconscious mind, is a lot of excess, confusion, a lot of extra. Many of us believe that by accumulating more, you can live life more. This may or may not be true. What I have found is that I've accumulated a lot in my life, physical, mental, emotional, and then releasing that accumulated excess, which was a net result of programming bias that was within, that said that was what the cause of happiness is. By releasing it, I found that the best happiness, first of all happiness is found within. Number two is happiness is expressed and shared with the external world, yes. And number three, that happiness, the greatest happiness, comes from being on purpose. And this was discovered through releasing, letting go of physical aspects of my life that were inharmonious, emotional aspects of my life that were a net result of past past expressions of subconscious mind conditioning that I had experienced that had been accumulated, releasing that. And mental, to the point where I realized that purpose, that's where the greatest happiness is found. Living a life of purpose brings the rewards. There is a process that I've identified that is so precise that goes back to the law of correspondence discussed in the Kabbalion, as in what you put out comes back to you. A life of purpose and service and creation will result in the receiving of the equivalent. And if not, then there's a lot of resistance and a lot that has not been let go of that causes the distortion of expression of this purpose, which is the desire. Reason has for ages denied desire its right to rule. The result is a multiplication and complication of ills, physical and environment. It says right there. Reason has for ages denied desire its right to rule. See, what we want is a harmonious relationship between the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. The conscious mind is the guardman at the gate, watches over, directs the mind towards a specific worthwhile ideal, purpose. All is related to your definite chief aim, and your definite chief aim is related to all areas of your life. It is one. Confusion breaks this truth. It complicates things. It creates a breakage in the relationship in the lovers within, which is the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the superconscious mind. Desire is received in the subconscious via the superconscious. But if the conscious mind is too busy doing the overthinking, we will deny instinct. We will resist, and it will express in an inharmonious way. And then the conscious mind will look at the external world and say, what is the net result of this in the external world failing to go within, which is the cause? The cause of resistance is fear. Now, this is interesting because fear causes us to look at the external world and blame the external world and become reactive to the external world. There's two ways of living reality, fundamentally, and maybe you're like this percentage of the time either or, but let's look at this for a moment. Looking at reality as the cause or looking at reality as the effect. Fear causes us to become the effect of reality and causes us to fail at looking at how do we change the cause within. Remaining at the cause of reality, you see reality as an effect of what is within. In other words, you have control over the dynamics of your life. You choose what you want. You allow your desires to express. You honor your desires, and you realize that if there's an inharmonious expression of the desire, it's programming within, and you change it. And as a result, you experience less fear because you say, if fear causes me to become reactive to the external world and take my power away and seemingly delude myself to say that the power is in the external world, I'm going to change that within. And as a result of releasing these fears, you find yourself taking a lot more bold action, being a lot more harmonious in what you choose to express, and you'll notice that it's received. Now, my choice of application of these principles has always been entrepreneurship. And I will say that there's a distinct advantage to somebody who does not allow fear to control them in entrepreneurship. They're more likely to sell. They're more likely to sell well. They're more likely to present themselves and express themselves in a way that results in deals. They're more likely to take bold action where others would be stifled by it as a result of not giving in to fear because they have released it within. Now it says here, the cause of fear is a lack of knowledge of the absolute certainty of progress, the absolute certainty that all is good. How do you get progress? By taking action, by trying things out, by allowing your desires and your creativity to express. That's how you make progress. See, we can assume that what exists in the external world is the totality. I believe that 1% of all that exists in this, whatever it is in this external world, and 99% is in the inner world. All that has been created in the external world has been a net result of imagination, which is the inner world anyways. So in order for you to identify your greatness, which is your desire, and express it, you have to test and you have to be willing to fail and try things and not be received and be criticized for it. Only then will you make progress because that's optimization data. You can assume that your desire, when received by the external world, will be unfavorable, but that is because you're looking at what is in the external world and saying, if I express myself, it'll be received this way, based on the external world data. The truth is that when you express yourself, from my experience, it has never resulted in the way I thought from a limited place of how it would be received. The answer was always progress. I got optimization data. It was received favorable. And even if it wasn't received favorable, it gave me tons of optimization data, tons of insights on how to evolve myself within. And that created absolute certainty. As stated, actions create clarity. When we express our desires, we get stimulus projected out in this external world, and we can see the kind of responses we get. And from those responses, we can adjust within. And it's the repetition of doing this over and over again till the realization, till the definite chief aim is brought forth, that you realize that absolute certainty that all is good. And actually, reality is in your favor if you look at it from this perspective. A man's temperament is simply the sum of his fixed habits of thought. The most of his habits of thought are received from his parents and attendants while he is too young to consciously discriminate. So remember this. We have learned a lot of valuable information when we were young, but we've also learned some inharmonious information because they did not understand, and that's okay. You have the power now to go in within yourself and release yourself from this inharmoniousness, which is a net result of the different experiences of others that you've assumed as fact and true for you. It might be true for them, but it might not be also true from you. And one of the litmus tests is say, does it repress my desires? Or does it help me understand my desires, express my desires, till I realize that my desires, when expressed harmoniously, materialize in the external world as harmonious. Harmonious fact within is a net result of harmonious fact without, as in within it starts first, as in I honor my desires, I express my desires, and through the process of doing it, even if five sensory data might deny it in the beginning, the repetition of doing it materializes as fact as being received and expressed, or the expression is then received as affirmation that the desire within was valid. As the individual's realization of this law of his growth increases, fear diminishes. So we talk about how do we release fear? Well, here's a process. Fear is holding us back. It is not a physical thing. It is something in our mind. It is holding us back from expressing. And when we realize that this fear was learned, we can start to release it by first saying, the desires are valid. I seek to understand them. And in order to understand them, I must express them. However I choose to express them from a place of understanding, it will reveal to me, because you're not looking to express the desires to hurt from this perspective. You're looking to express this desire to understand, so the intention is become pure. And this gives you the courage to go past fear. And the realization or the expression of what you see is validating. It gives you an understanding to a deeper level about yourself. Now, this is how we also connect to our inner voice. Our inner voice is not of fear. As fear diminishes, resistance to change diminishes as well. One of the things we have to remember is that change is inevitable. Reality is changing and everything is evolving faster than ever before, especially with the internet, especially with technology. And if we are afraid of change, then the net result of that is fear of expressing ourselves. Now, this might not be the total case for everyone, but this is one of the things that I found to be the truth about myself. Resistance to change is a scarcity way of thinking and believing, and a violation of the truth that I have within me the connection to infinite intelligence, and infinite intelligence communicates with me through desire. And through expression of desire, I'm able to work with the change and continuously express and thrive at levels that I've never been able to do before, because I encourage and express the desires within, understand them. The conscious mind is employed by gaining new experience. So how do we come up with educated decisions? A real way of looking at reality rationally and from an educated perspective. Through experience, through understanding. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Wisdom is knowledge plus experience. You get knowledge and you try things out. You get experience and then you know the difference. And you continue on this journey until your wisdom gets so deep and sophisticated that you might appear to be misunderstood for those that have not gone down the path at that level and acquired that level of wisdom. And you'll say that's okay, because they're on the journey as well. My job is not to convince people. My job is to honor my desires, to express them and create and be the example. All these atoms of tried knowledge, wisdom, unite in one great desire for something as yet unattained. This something is to the individual what the sap is to the tree, its life, and whereby it grows. To deny this desire, its gratification, is to refuse life to the organization. Man grows only by desire gratified. Desire is the law recognized as is unerring ever. Desire gratified brings new experience, affording new material for reason to consider. To deny desire is to shut off from the reason its only means of orderly development. See, if we do not allow ourselves to express our desire, which is our form of creative expression, if we do not understand what our desires mean, then we're going to assume that the external world is the totality of reason. Realizing, or failing to realize, I should say, that until we express from within, we're not going to have anything new in the external world to reflect upon and create new understanding, new meaning. The accumulated knowledge of what exists on the internet, let's say YouTube, or wherever on the internet, is a net result of expression of different desires and experience and wisdom accumulated from the expression of desires that has been compiled as body of knowledge and shared. To assume that that's the totality is limiting. So then, to deny desire is to shut off from reason its only means of orderly development. And always remember this: desire will not be denied. We can try to deny it. So when I say to deny it, I'm talking trying to deny it. It will express in some shape or form, and what we want is a harmonious expression. If not, it will express in a way that's inharmonious, physically, mentally, or emotionally. Desire will not be denied. It is omnipotent. Through all these ages, when man has tried to deny desire, it has tempted him and made him fall in spite of himself, and every fall has been upward. So this is the interesting thing. It will express, and all is still moving upwards. Consciousness is still rising. So you could choose a harmonious expression, or you could choose an inharmonious expression, and if you choose an inharmonious expression, you'll become an example for somebody else of what not to do. The choice is yours. Whatever will be expressed in some grand scheme, as complicated as this stuff might seem, it's all connected together, but it will move everyone forward. And the key is what way. You have the power to choose how you want to be the example. So now, when we value our desire, and I recommend that you really reflect of what's being discussed here and read this book and realize that everything that you are today is a net result of your desire. And now you have a choice on how you can work with your desire. You can understand yourself and evolve in a more harmonious way. And the way to do this is to listen to our inner voice, which comes as a form of inspiration. So let's talk a little bit about inspiration. Man has denied his highest, his ideal, his uncreate, until experience has taught him that nowhere else can he find satisfaction. So he arises again to the highest, the top of the head, and inspires the life which has evaded him all this time and from which he has turned. The action of the uncreate spirit upon the highest brain so far evolved in the individual produces in consciousness, in the brain, the individual's ideals. These ideals are the most potent forces of his being. Attention is the door by which ideal enters the reality. In other words, you have an ideal, a vision, something that you desire to create. And this is going to be expressed in a way that is either harmonious or inharmonious. When it is expressed harmonious, then what you have realized is that you are the captain of your fate. You can choose how this energy will be expressed. This is one of the most powerful forces that you have, and what you put your attention on reveals where you are expressing that desire. Wherever your attention goes, that is your desire. We cannot look at where our attention goes and say, I don't desire my attention to go there. That is to misunderstand how this works. It is then to reflect upon that and say, I might not consciously want my desire to go here because my attention is going here. What within me is causing my attention to drift in a direction that is not harmonious? It says here, attention is the door by which the ideal enters reality. Whatever you put your attention on, you are contributing to creating. And it is from within. It's the desire that causes your attention to go there. By understanding that much of our desire is either expressed harmoniously or inharmoniously through programming within our subconscious mind, allows us to go in within our subconscious mind and adjust our attention at a subconscious level, so we automatically put our attention into a purposeful direction that is in alignment physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to create consciously. He who looks with steadfastness to his highest ideal will with utmost certainty realize it. And as he approaches its realization, he will find still higher ideals forming within him. Conscious creation never ends. So does subconscious creation. It never ends. The goal here is to be in alignment if you want to. You don't have to do this. But if we realize that all happiness is found through purposefulness, then we say, what is purposefulness? Well, purposefulness is not force. It is harmonious alignment between the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind. Superconscious mind being the source of your desires, subconscious mind being the expression in reality, what creates reality, and the conscious mind being directing, guardian, reflecting upon what has been created and changing the cause within, adjusting and working harmoniously. And then when your definite chief aim is brought forth and realized, there will be another one. And then through the process, you understand this process and you continuously work with it. And as he approaches its realization, he will find still higher ideals forming within him. The free and constant inspiration of the Almighty giveth him higher and yet higher understanding. This is how you get understanding, through this process. The repetition leads to more wisdom and understanding. And if this process is not followed, it will lead to the conclusion of thoughts and ideals of limiting nature that one will assume to be fact and will see reality from the perspective of limiting. Whatever you believe will be brought forth. Conscious mind and subconscious mind are one. There are no dividing line between them, except as conscious reason places a division and says to the submind, thus far and no further shalt thou come. Now, we're saying here there's no separation between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. What is it? What is the reason why we refer to it as conscious mind and subconscious mind and superconscious mind? Because this is the conceptual way that we navigate reality. We like to take things and conceptualize them. All is one, and we can bring it together in the oneness through this alignment. Except as conscious reason places a division and says to the submind. So we realize then that the conscious mind has this ability to create the division. And while that helps us with categorizing, if we do it to such a high degree, then we break the connection between the subconscious and the superconscious. It has the ability to have a bias, and that's why I always say one of my best, most empowering elements that I've learned about education, I learned from Eben Pagan. He says, the enemies for learning is the statements, I disagree, and I already knew that. The moment we get into I disagree and I already knew that, we're drawing the line and we're risking not allowing our desires to express harmoniously, because we're going to assume that what we have created so far is the absolute fact and there's nothing beyond it. Conscious mind is reasoning will. Subconscious mind is instinctive desire, the result of past reasoning will. Remember this. Subconscious mind is impressed and expresses. It is expressed automatically, or it'll automatically express. It is impressed by what the conscious mind chooses, or what the superconscious or the sixth sense chooses, or what we impress in our imagination. Understanding conceptually the segmentation of what we're talking about, even though it's all one, but segmenting can give us an enormous amount of power. Because then we can consciously choose things, and we can then understand the subconscious and realize the automatic creation nature of it, and then also understand the superconscious as the source of desire. And then as we grasp that and work with that, we'll start to understand this more and more and more. And going back to what I said earlier, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. We access new information that wasn't there prior in our awareness, but already existed. Why do you think I attracted this book? That is the exact reason. I know it as a fact, because if I had come across this information earlier, and perhaps I did, it just did not register, I would have put emphasis on it, but I wasn't ready to put emphasis on it. I had to get to a level of realization to put emphasis on this, and now I honor the desires even more. So this is an exciting journey then. This is the journey of purpose. Desire is a real and all-powerful force. A force to be effectual must be concentrated, focused. In childhood, desire is concentrated. The one thing with all my is the childhood's attitude of mind and desire. A child follows its desire until it is satisfied and then turns all its desire, its force, in a new direction. So we're born into this world with childlike curiosity. This childlike curiosity is designed to help us express our desire. We have a childlike desire that needs to be expressed whatever way. Curiosity, we express it and we learn fast. Somewhere along the journey, things start to change. We say, no, it's not appropriate to express this desire. And we start to create all these rules to stifle our desire and distort our desire. And as a result, we lose this childlike state. Now, one of the things that I've realized in this journey, as I have risen up in success in entrepreneurship, is the absolute need and desire to carve out the time to express childlike curiosity. If I have curiosity to something, I will express it because I know where it comes from. It comes from a place of understanding. And if that was lost within me, I would not be able to evolve in my service, in my purpose. I would be limited to the level of understanding that I have now, and the information that I present or whatever I do to express this desire, my creative expression, will always be limited by that. So then, it's important to me to encourage the childlike expression, to not put labels on it that other people have put that says, oh, you can't do this because of whatever reason. If it denies my desire and my earnest joy of expression, then I'm not going to associate with that meaning. I rather feel and express my desires and observe what is being presented as a result of that expression, knowing that I am looking to express from a place of contribution, from a place of purpose, from a place of understanding. And thus, what is expressed is very revealing. It is harmonious. Why? Because throughout this journey, I have been releasing inharmonious expressions that were net result of other people's thinkings. And this is why Steve Jobs said, don't let the noise of other people's opinions drown out your own inner voice. It may be valid for them, and it might not be valid for you. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.